Hey, I'm Jenny Stuchel. I teach business entrepreneurship at Gonzaga University, and I help small businesses build and scale their sales system for more money and more margin. Today, I want to have an honest conversation, one that I think a lot of small businesses in this space are really avoiding right now because it's not particularly fun to talk about. In my position and at school with my students, I spend a lot of time looking at economy cycles. And right now, the cycle is shifting in a way we have not seen in almost a decade, since about 2008. We aren't technically in a recession yet, but with the Iran conflict destabilizing global energy markets and the US dollar declining, JP Morgan and other economists are now putting the probability of an official 2026 recession at over 40%. Just look at the markets over the last few weeks, and we saw gold and silver take their steepest weekly decline in 40 years as investors are scrambling for liquidity. The dollar is losing strength, which means your customers' purchasing power is evaporating. Consumer spending growth is expected to crater to 1.5% this year. But here's the stat that we should all be being kept up at night thinking about. The top 20% of earners are now driving 57% of all consumer spending. That means the bottom 80%, the everyday people who likely make up most of your customer base, are stretching every dollar. We're in a K-shaped economy. If you aren't positioned at the top of the K, or if you don't have a way to plug the holes in your bucket, you're caught in the very dangerous middle. And this is not a good place to be if you're a small business right now. I watched 4 local small businesses here in my hometown close their doors just in the last 3 months. Businesses I absolutely loved. Most of them, or one of them was a little boutique. One of them was a high-end service provider. The other 2 were in the food industry, and this is as to be expected when food costs rise and there's no strategy in place. They all had beautiful Instagram grids. They were posting maybe even a few times a week, sometimes more. They held workshops. Their marketing looked okay, but they all made the same fatal mistake. They built on rented land. In my classroom, I tell my students, amateurs track vanity metrics, professionals track and plug where their leaks are. If your business relies on an algorithm as your marketing and sales plan, you have a hobby that is subject to the whims of a billionaire's software update. In a slow economy, organic reach becomes the slow motion car crash. When people spend less, the platforms are going to charge more for ads. That means if you don't own and engage with your audience, you are pouring water into a bucket full of holes. In 2026, water is getting very expensive, not good for any of us. Let's look at the 3 common examples of where I see these leaks happening in the real world right now. So meet the health coach. She had 8,000 followers. She had hit 2 5-figure months since opening her business in 2021, but most were less than 3K months. And when I asked her where her clients were coming from, she said they usually just find me on Google or socials and then DM me, and I send them my website and they go get more information there. Wah, wah, wah. Can you see the problem here? First, she's asking her client to do way too many actions to work with her, way too many steps. Second, this is a very warm client, someone who has inquired about her services. If they don't book with her, she's just lost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, all because there's no systems in place to automatically move this warm client to the next steps, even if she's not ready to buy. A website's for navigation for someone who finds you on Google or through socials, not a warm lead inquiring about your services. They need you to guide them at this point. So we moved her from a passive sales system to an active system. We implemented a health diagnostic quiz to see where her clients were at. Instead of following her, people assessed themselves with this quiz. This plugged her business leak by capturing the lead at the point of highest interest. Another client of mine was an interior designer. She only had a 15% close rate on calls with leads. She thought that this was normal. She was on the phone a ton. This is actually a really low close rate to a warm audience. She was having to resell herself on every discovery call. She was leaking revenue because there was no bridge between I like your work or I've seen you and I want to book a call with you and trust you with $20,000 of mine. So what we did to fix this leak is we built a short educational program with her behind the scenes work. We delivered it to cold leads. And by the time they got on the call with her, they were so warm, her close rate jumped to 60%. We did not change what she was doing. We just plugged the trust leak because when they got on the phone with her, they already knew about her work and what she was about, her whys, and her story. The most recent client I worked with owns a salon. Every dollar earned requires hours with her clients. Her model depends on her. And in a recession, if you get sick or a client cut costs, your income is going to drop instantly. You likely won't get the rebooking. A one-to-one model is brutal in this economy. Here's what we did with what she was already doing. She sold products as a second income stream, but instead of having to pitch in front and get in front of each of those clients, every lead that came through her funnel we built would start learning about those products she sold ahead of time. She not only educated them, but she warmed them up for both her products and to book her services with her. This allowed her to capture revenue from people who couldn't or weren't ready to afford her one-to-one services yet, as well as tap into a new audience. She stopped leaking revenue, her sales increased, and she didn't have to try to find more one-to-ones. We also increased her pricing to reflect her value, and that's a big one. But the no's were turned into not yet, but I'll buy this product, and we met them where they're at. And we did this with strategic communication points throughout the customer journey. I want to pivot for a second because being a business owner in 2026 is not just about our P&L statement, it's about how we protect our family too. And here are a few things my family is doing this summer to stay liquid and grounded as these recession headlines get louder and scarier. Number one, we've temporarily lowered our retirement contribution percentages. I'm not a financial advisor, but in a 40% plus recession economy risk, cash is a tactical weapon. We need to be sure that we have it in case an emergency hit or an opportunity arises. Number two, we joined a local CSA, which is a food box from one of our local farms. We paid one flat fee for 20 weeks of food, about $40 a week for organic local produce that feeds 5 people a week. No matter what inflation does to food prices this summer, our food costs are going to be fixed with a CSA box. Number three, we're shifting our hosting and eating out at home and at parks versus going out. We're going to go out, but just saving it for date nights or emergencies, and we're only going to support those local small businesses. Number four, we're doing strategic investing. We moved a lot of those individual volatile stocks to more essential sector ETFs. In a K-shaped economy, we really need to focus on those essentials: energy, healthcare, technology. And so really the through line is for business and family is simple. Stop leaving outcomes to systems that do not care about you. The businesses that survive the rest of the 2026 won't be the ones with the most visibility or followers. They will be the ones with the most intentional sales path from stranger to customer. They will be the ones who realized their bucket was leaking and decided to fix it before the drought hits. If you're sitting here thinking, I know something is missing, the math is not adding up, you likely have a revenue leak. You're losing people in the gaps between your marketing strategy and your checkout page where they hand you money. I've spent the last few months developing a tool for my clients specifically to help you find your revenue leak fast. It's a free revenue leak report. It's a short diagnostic, just similar to what I do with my clients in a Freedom one-to-one audit. It just asks a few more specific questions about your current business structure. And in less than 3 minutes, it's going to generate a custom report for you, showing you exactly where your business is bleeding or leaking. Is it a traffic leak, a nurture leak, a conversion leak? And it will give you the next steps to help plug it fast. I put the link below in the comments so you can get your free revenue leak report right now. Let's just stop building on rented land and start building an asset you actually own that doesn't own your time. I'm also opening up my Freedom Funnels cohort in a few weeks to help you build an entire infrastructure for your sales path. But you can't build a house on cracked foundations. So make sure you get your revenue leak report first and figure out where your leaks are. If you love data-driven business strategy and want to grow with more intention for more money and more margin, subscribe to my page, and I will see you next time.